I'm Jennifer. I'll tell you my last name. It's Arganaraz or Arganaraz. But everybody calls me Jen or Jen A because we don't really want to do the whole last name thing. This is Amalfi. We work together. We're with New World Title. I don't know if you've heard of us. We are right now at the moment one of the biggest title companies in Florida. We currently have 12, 13 offices, something like that. Most of the offices are in Dade and Broward. We do have in Orlando, Palm Beach, West Coast, but most of them are in Dade and Broward. The majority of them, at least. So today we're here to teach pretty much the process from contract to closing. A lot of realtors aren't really familiar with what really goes on in the background. You know, you guys get the contracts, turn in the contracts, and then a lot of times they don't understand what's going on, maybe you get questions. So I'm really big on educating realtors because I believe the more you know, you become a more powerful realtor, you seem more professional, and I think clients can tell. I'm not asking you to process the title, I'm not asking you to process a mortgage, but you should have, like I call them, little tools in your toolbox, you know? Like little nuggets that make you seem like a super realtor, you know? Because at the end of the day, I know there's a lot of lead generating as far as Zillows or Realtor.com, but I've been in the industry over 20 years. I know it sounds like a lot because I don't look that old, but I have. So real estate has changed a lot throughout the years, but at the end of the day, it's always been a referral-based business. So if you talk to top producers who have been in the business for many, many years, they'll tell you that most of their clients come through referrals. And it obviously takes a little while to get there, but the more you know, I think it helps out in order for you to get referrals and be that superstar realtor, okay? So we're gonna talk about contract to closing. Okay, the date is wrong. I was supposed to fix that last night and I didn't. We're not in 2105. But there has been a lot of changes since 2015. There used to be a thing called the HUD-1. I don't know about you, how new you guys are, but there used to be a HUD-1, which used to be the closing disclosure, which is where all the page, where all the numbers come out, and you get the cash to close and all that stuff. So now there are many changes to the HUD. There's the CD. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when it comes time to close, the lender kind of discloses the CD, and then you have to wait 3 days before you can close. Before, you could get clear to close, and you close the same day, the next day. It was easy, to the point. Okay, so, it looks so weird. Okay, so I have this thing that I try to tell realtors all the time. You need to set expectations to your clients. And I'm gonna tell you why. Clients, they don't really know what happens in the background. They know they're buying a house, they know they need financing, that's pretty much it. But a lot of the times we're in this business and it's like an everyday thing, so it's like for us it's like breathing, you know? We do a transaction, we know we need title, we know we need mortgages, whatever, it's like breathing. But a lot of the clients don't know this, and I always tell people you have to put yourself in the position of the customer. A lot of these people sometimes are their first-time home buyers, so they don't know, they're even more lost because they don't know what goes on. They don't know what you tell them escrow, it's like Chinese. Escrow, what is that? Okay, so you have to set expectations. Everything doesn't fall on the realtor. Everybody has a role to play in closing a transaction. Like it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to close a transaction. So that's why I believe teamwork is very important. You gotta have a good title company, you have to have a good lender by your side in order to get through the transaction smoothly, because at the end, we all have the same goal. Close and happy closing, because that's where the referral comes. Because a lot of things happen throughout the closing transaction, but at the end is what most people remember. So set expectations to your clients. When you get a contract, explain to them that they have X amount of time to turn in an escrow deposit, what an escrow deposit entails. I mean, I've had people actually have had to call buyers and explain to them, because this is Miami. People are very, I don't know how to say it in English, they're confiado. How do you say that in English? Right, they have trust issues. Okay, so like, what, give $5,000 to who? No, a title, who are those people? I'm not just gonna give $5,000 to some stranger.
It happened to us recently. A tenant came to us like, hey, I just want to
mean, Miami, more than anything, is like the capital of fraud. So people are like, they have trust issues and you can't blame them. Then you deal with people that aren't from this country, you know, that they just got here, they've only been here a short time, they don't know how things work. So I always like to assume that people don't know anything. And even like the most smallest things, like, hey, you can't bring cash to closing. Something that you think that, oh, anybody would know that, you can't bring cash to closing. Well, let me tell you, they don't. I've actually had people show up at closing with a suitcase full of cash. And I'm like, what are we buying here? So, believe it or not, those little things, they do. I always tell my processors, always assume that they don't know. You know what I mean? Assume that they have no idea that the profits of the transaction have to go to the person that was actually selling the company. I mean, selling the house, not to their mother or their sister or their brother. So those are little things that you kind of have to like let them know and set expectations. So at the end of the day, you don't want them to be driving you crazy. You know, like, hey, you have X amount of time for inspections, and you gotta kind of give some responsibility to them as well. Because like I said, everything doesn't fall on the realtor. You're with them the longest, so they kind of like feel closer to you because you guys have built a relationship, so they trust you. So who's the go-to person all the time? The realtor. You know, title, mortgage, we come like right when you're under contract. They do have some relationship with the lender because they do the pre-qualification, but again, sometimes you guys are with them 3 months, 6 months. I've even had people deal with buyers for like a year. So before you know it, you're having coffee at their house, you know their kids, you're going to their birthday parties, you know what I mean? So those are, it's relationship building, which is great, but then they depend on you. So you kind of have to like set expectations to them and tell them, okay, you have X amount of time for the inspection, you have X amount of time for your escrow. By the way, you can give escrow, personal check, cashier's check, no cash, or wire, no cash, okay? Next slide, okay? Oh, I already said that, next slide. Okay, so we have a critical date sheet that we like to give out to once we open the file, and the buyers and the sellers have access to it as well. We do have an app that the buyer and the seller can download as well. The realtors can download the app and all your transactions will be on that app, and you can see what's going on with your transaction. Escrow letters get uploaded there, title searches get uploaded there, everything gets uploaded through the app. And it's made like that so realtors are on the go, and it does inform buyers and sellers. Now, a lot of buyers and sellers, I'm gonna be honest with you, they don't download the app, which is fine, but we do send out emails as well. Most of the communication though is done through the realtor, okay? Because we do everything through the realtor passes it along to the customer. Once you send a file to New World Title, we go ahead, we open the file, and we assign a file number to it, and you get a welcome email within 24 to 48 hours, letting you know who your processor is, telling you to download the app if you haven't downloaded the app, and stuff like that. Now, the info sheets are super important because that's what's going to tell us what we need to put on title, and that's going to tell us if we have a payoff and all that stuff. So we do chase down those info sheets a lot. So once they get the escrow deposit, they can either take it to our office. Is that what we're doing? We're taking it to the office?
Take it to the office.
Okay. We're taking the escrow deposits to the office. You can drop off the check in any location, okay? We have a processor, we're gonna have one of the offices assigned to Home 61, and you'll be dealing with that office at all times, and they'll be processing your files. But just because the file gets processed there, doesn't mean it has to close in that office, okay? We can close in any one of our locations. So if you have a transaction that you need to close, that's in Kendall, and you know, so a lot of people like to do the walkthrough right before the closing, we can set up the closing in Kendall. If you need it in Davie, Sunny Isles, whatever, we can set up the closing there. Just because it gets processed in one office doesn't necessarily mean you have to close in that office, okay? A lot of people don't understand that, but just so you know, because they're like, oh, why my file in Miramar? Don't worry, it doesn't have to close there.
Is your virtual closing?
Not virtual, we're not there yet. We're not allowed to do virtual closings because there's a lot of stuff that need wet signatures, but we do mobile closings. Mailaways, Meaning, if we have to do a closing here, let's say, we can send a closer here to do the closing. Mailaways, okay, wait, let me get to the phone. I'm going ahead of myself. Okay. So, make sure that when you sit down with your buyer or seller, make sure they understand the deadlines on the contract. The worst thing you want is, oh, you didn't tell me. I didn't know I only had 10 days for inspection. You know, let them know. You gotta put some stuff on them as well. Hey, do you have an inspection company? Do you need me to refer you one? You know you only have 10 days. Oh, I don't want an inspection because I have an uncle, cousin that's gonna go to the house and just do this. Oh yeah, house is good. That happens a lot in Miami. I don't know if you guys do it, especially with Cubans. I'm half Cuban, so I know. So they take a deal, and the deal knocks on the door and doesn't see any stains on the ceiling, and we're good to go. If they're not gonna hire an inspector to actually do it, there is a form that they can waive the inspection. A lot of realtors don't use it, but I always tell them that they should, because at the end of the day, when they close and the roof is leaking, you didn't tell them to get an inspection, because you know everybody likes to put the blame on someone else, and all of a sudden you went from super realtor to sucky realtor, and there goes the referral, and it wasn't even your fault. You know, the realtor gets blamed for a lot of things that is not their fault. HOA approval process. If you're dealing with a condo, HOA approvals are important. Make sure they apply on time. Make sure you get the association information from the listing agent so you can actually call. I like to tell realtors, do all your homework in the beginning. So that way you know how everything's gonna go. You know, the more organized you are, I know you guys have Carlos here, which is freaking awesome. You know, oh, you guys are so lucky. But you know what I mean? You gotta, again, I'm gonna repeat this a lot, set expectation. Communication is key. You know, oh, you never told me this, oh, you never told me that. You know, I know because it happens to us too. So, estoppels, if you don't know what an estoppel is, it's a form that the title company orders. It's the seller has to pay for it. And basically what it does is it lets us know what the association fee is, if they're behind, if they owe anything, if there's assessments, special assessments, if the HOA is in litigation, stuff like that. So that gets paid by the seller. Okay, and we are in charge, we do order it, or the seller can order it on their own, because it is an upfront fee. Just keep in mind, since it is an upfront fee, most title companies won't order it until the end. We usually check with the lender once the appraisal comes in and we know it appraised and everything is fine, we go ahead and we order the estoppel. That way it doesn't delay your closing, okay? Another thing we do on World Title is the minute we get the contract, we order title search and lien search immediately. Most title companies wait till they get a title request from the lender or an approval before they order because it is an upfront fee. We're volume based. So we have no problems ordering it ahead of time, and if it doesn't close, we'll never charge your client for it at all. So just keep that in mind. And if you are working with listings, let me just throw this out there. If you are working with listings and you need us to do a title search because the person doesn't remember if they have a second or third mortgage, because it does happen, we can go ahead and order, it's called an E&O, which is basically a title search, and we can go ahead and order that for you, and we can check out the property before you take the listing.
For free.
Yeah, for free. You know, obviously, if you have an investor that wants a title search for like 100 properties, it's gonna cost them. And usually it's like about $75 per search, okay? But if you have like I don't know if you guys do short sales, that happens a lot. I get short sales, and the short sales, they don't know if there's a second mortgage, and you don't want a surprise. We go ahead and we go to the title search just to see what's on there, if there's any liens, you know, anything that goes on there. Okay. Make sure on your contracts, we ask on the info sheet what the commission is, but make sure on your contracts, put in the commission because title companies are gonna automatically assume it's 6, 3, and 3, automatically. And you have no idea how many times we're closing and people don't check that and it's 3 and 3 and it's supposed to be 2.5 and 2.5 or 2 and 4, you know what I mean? That's your commission, that's your money, check it. I always tell people, check that commission, because if something happens, you're out that money. And your transaction fees. You guys have transaction fees, I assume? No? 0? Oh, damn.
I know, right?
Because this is the first time I hear no transaction fee, but okay. So, okay, next.
For right now, we don't.
Okay. So, a title search. Let me just tell you, go ahead.
Sorry, going back to the other one, if it's a single family, there will also be a survey, right? That will be required.
Yes, surveys are ordered. We order the survey, the buyer pays for it. If it's cash, usually we don't order it. Because cash deals, unless they ask for a survey, because it's not necessary. A survey isn't necessary to close title. The only reason it gets ordered is because the lender asks for it. So that's why it gets ordered. Now, if the seller has a survey, which is I think less than a year old, it can get recertified, which will save the buyer some money. So ask.
As well as the lender, or the elevation certificate that will be attached for.
Right, the elevation certificate is separate if it's a flood, correct.
Okay.
So these documents, for how long are there valid?
Which documents?
Like estopa, let's say,
No, the estoppel is only good for 30 days.
only 30 days?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
imagine if they make a payment. Now, let's say I get an estoppel now. We're in April. Let's say we get it today. We don't close until May. I can use the same estoppel. What I do is I get a ledger or something where I ask the seller, if the seller, sometimes they take automatic payments out of their account. If they can show me proof that they made the May payment, then I will collect for it. Because everything, remember, gets prorated.
As per like your underwriting requirements, right?
No underwriting requirement. That's just because everything gets prorated, so a buyer is only responsible for the things once they own the property.
Yeah.
Like taxes get prorated, association fees get prorated, all those things get prorated. So you're only responsible for the time that you own the property on.
Yeah.
So anything else, so if let's say we close May 5th and he made the payment, we would credit him from May 1st we credit the seller from May 1st to May 5th and then charge the buyer from 5th on and give it to the seller because he already made the payment. So everything gets prorated.
And you get the estopa and you ask for the receipt of the...
Right, because if my estoppel says he made a payment April 1st
Yeah.
and now in May, I need to make sure.
Yeah.
Did he make the payment? Did he not make the payment? Because if he did make the payment, then we owe him money. So it does happen sometimes, and we're like, okay, no big deal, just give me a ledger or give me proof. That way we don't have to reorder an estoppel, because estoppels can be costly. Maybe like $250.
What do you do with the special assessments?
Special assessments, it depends what the contract says. Remember, your contract is
So
going to
let's say-
govern your whole transaction.
Let's say on the notes you put the seller should pay...
Well, there is a section on the contract
Yeah.
that says if seller is to pay the full special assessment that's due, or if he's gonna pay for only partial and then the buyer's responsible for the rest. There's an actual, I don't remember what page it's on.
It's on the condo writer.
It's on the condo writer as well, but it's actually on the contract as well.
I think it's four.
It's on the contract.
Page 4.
I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. For any special assessments to be paid prior to closing by.
Right, there's like a section in the contract that says it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a section in the contract that says it. Guys, if you're ever in doubt of anything at all, you guys can just call us on our cell phone and we'll help you guys out. I do have 3 attorneys on staff, so if you need us to review anything because you're not sure, a lot of times I've seen contracts come in, and when the seller has an attorney, they love to, I love them attorneys, man, awesome. But yeah, they love to write stuff, so if you see anything chicken scratched out, whatever, and you're in doubt, just call us, our attorney will review it, and you're fine. And we'll tell you this and that, and if we have to write an email to the other attorney to tell him please remove this, we'll go ahead and do that, okay? You guys aren't attorneys, you guys are realtors, but just know you have backup. We'll back you guys up. Okay, title. Easy way for you guys to remember. Title, what comes out on title is anything that gets recorded in the court, okay? Anything that gets recorded in the courthouse is what shows up on title. Meaning, you take out a mortgage, they record it, it shows up on title. You didn't pay the contractor for that pool that you made, and he's putting a lien on your property, that gets recorded, boom, it comes out on title. You order a credit card, anything, mechanical lien, boom, it comes out on title. So title is anything that gets recorded in the court. Lien search, or city lien search, is anything city. Open permits, water, taxes, violations, stuff like that is city. okay? Title is insurable. We insure title. Lien search is not insurable. Lien search is just city, and honestly, it's a courtesy. Just to give you a little bit of history, back in the day, way back in the day, title companies didn't order lien searches. That was something that was due diligence on the buyer's behalf. Title insurance company. That's what we are. We insure title. But then somebody had a great idea, was like, hey, let's add this service and let's do a lien search for the client, and that's how title companies started doing lien search. So I like to tell people that because it kind of gives you like a visual so you can remember. Title's insurable, city lien search is not. And I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you this because it's happened to me many times. I'll get a call, they'll do a closing. There was an open permit or something, they closed, whatever. 6 months later, the client calls a realtor. Hey, where's my title insurance? Because I have this thing and the city's telling me this and this and that. It's not insurable. What happens with the city is with the city. It's not insurable. It's not on title. Okay? Now, can you close with open permits? Sure you can. You can close with a lot of stuff. Anything that comes out on lien, you can pretty much close it. As long as it's not on title, you can close it. We just have you sign a hold harmless and call it a day. Now, we like to protect the client. Go figure. So, what we do is, if there is an open permit, now, if it's an open permit because it was a fence that was there and they just didn't close it from like 1995, that's not a big deal. I'll tell you, just close it, that's not a big deal. We push for them to close the permits. You know, I have realtors that get mad. I'm like, look, we don't have to. But we try to make the sellers close the permits and take care of anything that's on city lien search, just so the buyer later doesn't have to deal with it as a headache. You know what I mean? Are we gonna stop the closing? No, you tell me to close, I'll close. You know? But we do push for it. Now, if I see if it's a permit or a violation that might not be a problem now, I'm gonna give you a call and I'm gonna tell you, listen, I advise you, and if I were you, I would advise your client not to close with that open. Because what happens is, a lot of people get desperate and they want to close. And they don't even think, they're looking at it right now and they're not looking at what happens 5 years from now, 3 years from now. Because right now, what isn't a problem on title can be a problem on title later. So for instance, you have a violation, a code violation from the city, and right now it's not a problem, right? And your buyer's like, look, I don't care, I want to close, that's not a big deal, blah, 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 whatever, fine. We close, hold harmless. It's not a big deal right now. 2 or 3 years later, he goes to close, the city got mad and put a lien on title. So it can become a lien on title. Now he's like, oh, wait a minute, I have title insurance. Yes, you do. But that's not covered on your title insurance because it wasn't on title at the time that you bought it. You see? So sometimes if my processor, my closer calls me like, hey, listen, these people want to close, there's this on lien, what do you think? I'm calling you. I'm not going to call you that often, but when I do call you, it's because there's a problem. So I'm not the best call you can get, but at least I'm there to solve the problem. You know, at the end of the day, like I said, our goal is to close the deal, and we're solution driven, so let's just find a solution and close. But I'm going to advise you, okay, listen, this is not a problem now, but this might be a problem later. But then you might tell me, look, this guy's an investor, he doesn't care, he's going to knock that down, he's going to redo the whole house, it doesn't matter. Okay, call it a day, let's close. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to advise you, because later on, months later, if it does become a problem, who do you think they're going to blame? The realtor.
I kind of avoid that issue, since I moved to Florida in 2006, I haven't written a contract that doesn't state that we will not close until seller closes our open permit. I don't care.
Yeah. I have a verbiage that I text to all my realtors to put on the additional terms that does say that. That seller is responsible to close all open permits or violations with the city on or before closing. You'd be surprised how many times I get contracts back with people scratching that off.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, why? I wonder.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's a flag.
yeah. I always tell people, when in doubt, you can go straight to the city, you can find out in a minute. Like, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's public records, you just gotta go down to the city. I don't suggest us ordering a lien search, because lien search can be costly, because we do full lien searches. A lot of title companies just do a basic lien search, which just shows you water, taxes, and very basic stuff. We do a full lien search, which is why sometimes they come out to $300, $375. If it's a full lien search, and some municipalities have different departments, so sometimes a lien search gets costly, but we do a full lien search because of that. You had a question?
Yes. Oh, and you cross-reference the name as well.
I'm sorry?
You would cross-reference the name as well, not just the property on the full lien search, right?
No, the lien search is by folio number.
Okay.
So sometimes things will show up, let's say like a water bill from a renter.
That doesn't count.
No, that doesn't count. We can actually get away with, because it doesn't belong to the actual owner, the city will be like, okay, don't worry about it.
Well, no, I was gonna ask, I heard you reference a few times already, the whole harmless. Can you
Yes.
explain what that?
Okay, the hold harmless basically is saying that the person is aware of XYZ situation, let's say an open permit.
The buyer. The
Right.
buyer is aware.
The person, what did I say?
The person. No,
Yeah.
but that's
Or the seller, everybody says, the buyer's aware of open permit on property and is not gonna hold anyone liable. Because you're aware and you're closing with it on there, so you're not gonna hold anyone liable, not us, not the realtor, not nobody. You know what you're getting yourself into.
So
We do
an
that to
exemption-
protect,
An exemption on title.
no, it's not on title, because it's lien search.
Like, well, the exemption of like the insurance, like,
No. Remember, lien search is not insurable. There's everything city. Title, if there's something clouding title, there's very few things that you can do exceptions for. The seller has to cure it. Remember, anything that comes out on title is a seller's responsibility. We need to clear title, so when your buyer purchases, he gets clear title and title insurance. Now, if the title insurance underwriter misses something and they insured you, the title insurance company is still responsible for it. But anything that comes out on title, there's very few things you can get exceptions for, because underwriters have gotten really strict. So there's few things you can get exceptions for to give you title insurance. So if there's something that the seller can't cure on title, they have 30 days to cure it, right? And if they can't cure it and it becomes a problem and we can't give you clear title, the buyer has every right to get out of the contract and get back their deposit. Okay, even if it's past closing date, because the seller has 30 days to cure it. And if you can prove that they have been doing everything to try to cure it, then you're allowed to give them those 30 days. Okay? No? Good. Okay, so lien search, title search. Title search is also called abstract, so sometimes you'll see it on the CD as abstract search. I say it on this page now. Oh, sorry again. Do it again one more time. Okay. What the title company really needs, which we send out those famous info sheets that I told you guys about. Okay, what we really need is, the first thing you need to send us, the minute you get the contract executed, is a copy of the contract. You should be sending it to your title company and to your lender. The information sheets are gonna tell us their marital status, if they're married, if they're not married. I'm just gonna throw this out there. If they were married in another country, and now they come to this country, and they came into the country married, they're married, okay? I had a lender one time tell me, oh, but he got married in Cuba, that doesn't count. I'm like, really? So I could get married like in every country and it wouldn't count? Like, really? How many husbands can I have? So it counts, people, like, because they made a mistake that they put single. I had every documentation known to man saying that he was married, along with his wife's name and everything. And the poor lender totally confused the guy. When this literally happened at closing, and he was like so nervous. He's like, I'm married. No, I'm single. He didn't know what to say. I'm like, listen, just tell us the truth. Because this is what happens. If he says he's single and he's really married, they're really happy right now. But in 3 years, when he cheats on her, guess what's gonna happen? She's gonna get mad and she's gonna wanna go after the house. And if he bought the house, and this is in Florida, listen, if she's on title, if she's not on title, it's still 50-50, people. Okay? You're gonna have to get a prenup. Okay? 50-50. Well, oh, but she's not on title, but you got the property when you were married, so she still is entitled to the property. So he goes on there as a single person, and he's really married, and they get divorced, and the claws start coming out. Guess what? She can go after him, and he just did fraudulent fraudulent activity on his mortgage. That's literally considered fraud. That's like jail time. So don't let your customers lie, you know? It just becomes a problem later if they get divorced and she goes after him. We need the full names of the buyers. There's some people that have like 5 different names, so we need all those names. That's why we get IDs. On the warranty deed and everything, it should have the full name of the person. So if they have like 3 names or 5 names, I had one that had like, I swear, like 6 names. She really literally took up the whole thing. So many names. So always get IDs. And anything related to the transaction, we need to know. If it's a mail away, listen, if your buyer and seller is not here, we need to know. And I don't mean I need to know the day of closing or the day before closing, because that's not gonna help us. I need to know ahead of time. And just so you know, on the way over here, I had somebody call me, oh, the sellers are coming from New York to close. I'm like, why? Now, if they wanna come, because they wanna come to Miami and visit Miami, no problem. But technically, you don't have to physically be here to close. Okay? But we need to know if they're not here and if they're in the US or if they're outside of the country. If they're outside of the country, it gets a little bit tricky, especially Venezuela. There's no embassy over there. So that's a little harder to close because things have to get notarized. We can always do power of attorneys. If you need us to do a power of attorney, we do them at no charge. So we can prepare a power of attorney, and just so you know, the power of attorney has to be approved by the lender, if there's a lender, and our underwriter. Obviously, we have them already pre-done, so we know which ones work, but then we have to send it to the lender has to approve it. But the power of attorney does have to get notarized. So again, if they're in another country, they're gonna need an embassy because it has to get notarized. They're being really picky about the notaries and all that stuff because of all the problems that has been going on. If they're in New York, Philadelphia, Georgia, not a big deal because we can get a notary anywhere. It's just to notarize it. Because the most important document on the seller side is the warranty deed, because that's how we transfer title. You have no idea how many times we get deeds. Well, today when I was in the other office, then we have to do corrected deeds because people do the deeds wrong, even attorneys. The one that was today was the attorney did the deed completely wrong, then we have to get a corrective deed. So the deeds that's like the most important document that a seller can sign, because that's how you're gonna transfer title. Okay, title vesting. You're probably not gonna remember this, but I'm gonna throw it out anyway. So if your buyers have any questions, just give us a call. Okay, joint tenants with right to survivorship, okay? That means that they're obviously joint tenants, and it's right to survivorship, meaning I own a house with Amalfi. We'll kill Amalfi. Amalfi dies. Sorry, Amalfi. I just killed you. She dies, I get the property free. I get the property. I don't have to go to probate. I don't have to do anything, no will. The day I sell it, I just show a death certificate and I'm done. Okay? Joint tenants in common, tenancy in common mean that they're tenants in common, but now, let's say I bought a property with my second husband, and I have 2 beautiful children, and he has two monstrous children, and all of a sudden, he dies. His children get his half, right? So, and I get mine, you know?
Do you ask this one to the buyer?
We ask, it's on the info sheet. So a lot of times we do get the call, oh, what is that, you know? If in doubt, if they don't know, we will be more than happy to call them and explain it to them, because I do know a lot of buyers get stuck there because they don't know what that is. You know what I mean? And I think that's very important because people just assume, oh, I have a will, so it doesn't matter. It still matters. You still gotta go through probate with a will. You know what I mean? Like people automatically assume that you don't, but you do. It's a lot easier with a will, obviously, but you still gotta go through probate, which means attorney costs, you know what I mean? You still gotta go through probate, you gotta wait.
Well, a trust can supersede that.
Oh yeah, a trust can supersede that.
What about if the buyer is an LLC? What do you require?
I'm glad you asked that. Because I've had a few problems with that lately, and I actually did a video on it. Okay, corporations, LLC, whatever, we need an operating agreement. Okay, this is gonna sound crazy, and I don't think you guys are ignorant or anything, but I have to throw this out there. If the property belongs to a corporation, okay, and you're on the corporation, you don't own the property. The corporation does, okay? So if there's 3 people in the corporation, you're not the only person in the corporation, you don't own the property. I had one a few weeks ago. Oh, but the 3 other people on there are his sons. He just has them there in case something happens to him. It doesn't matter. They all have to sign. Everybody on the corporation has to sign, or sometimes in the operating agreement, it's assigning someone to sign on behalf of the corporation. If not, there is an affidavit that we can create, but again, it has to get notarized, and everyone has to sign it, assigning such person to sign on behalf of the corporation. That way they don't have to all go to closing. Okay? Now, if you're a seller, the proceeds, okay, of the sale have to go into the bank account of the corporation. You'd be surprised how many times people have properties in the corporation that they don't have bank accounts of the corporation. Oh, I can't send it to this one person in the corporation, and they're very, very picky about that, especially nowadays with the money laundering and all that stuff. They've gone really strict on that, so just keep that in mind. They need a bank account. There are ways around it.
So then they put money into the bank account of the corporation, and the corporation's gonna distribute it to.
Accordingly.
Accordingly.
Yeah. And the way I tell people is like, take this for an example. You own a property in a corporation with a friend, and I decide I'm gonna close. I'm gonna sell the property. They're not gonna send the money to me. What if I never give that person their percentage or whatever? So realtors have gotten so mad at us, and you guys suck. It's like I can't do anything. I need to, I can send it to an attorney. If you have an attorney, I can send the proceeds to your attorney, and let your attorney handle it how he wants to handle it. But my proceeds have to go into the bank account corporation. Like literally, I had a realtor just yell at me, like, and she's like, and it's not even like a new realtor. She's like a realtor from like I don't know how many years, and she's like, I've done this before. I'm like, well, if you've done this before, then you should know. But and it's not like a Newell title thing. It's an everybody thing. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, you guys just restrict. No, it's just that's everybody. That's how it goes. And also, if there is a death and the people are in probate, we need to know. Especially, obviously, if the seller's in probate, we need to know because we need to contact the probate attorney because we want to get the permission. Blah blah blah. So we need to know. If it's not in probate, no big deal. If the other person on title has passed away, we just need the original death certificate. The original death certificate, just so you know, gets recorded with the deed to show how it's transferred. Okay. Okay. So the title clearance process. It's not that difficult. Yes, it is. Okay. So we get title back within 24 to 72 hours, depending on the property. So we get it back right away. All right. Once we get it, it shows everything that's been recorded. We review everything. Anything that has to be cleared, we email the listing agent. Hey, we need loan account information. 2 mortgages show up. We gotta order payoffs, whatever. Then from there, since we get title within 24 to 72 hours, how long does it take to close a transaction? Sometimes it takes 30 to 45 days. So at Newell Title, what we do is right before closing, we do a title update. Why? Because you have that gap. Anything can happen within those 30, 45 days. Somebody could put a lien in the property and so forth and so on. So we like to do a title update.
Should we put 30 days or 45?
That depends. No, with me it doesn't matter. I'm usually ready before the lender. Unless there's like a major problem in title. Like I've had sometimes a mortgage shows up that it was from the seller previously, or they did a refi and they never recorded the satisfaction. Those things might take a little lengthy, but still we try to do it. We try to do it on a timely basis. If it's a lender, I will talk to your lender. If it's a condo, I would definitely talk to the lender because if they have to do condo approval or God knows what, it might take a little longer. So, but I think 30 days is more than enough time to close a transaction, especially if it's a single family residence. Condos, it depends. The approval, it can get a little sticky, But again, communication. You should be in communication with your lender. Just because you get a pre-qual letter, especially if it's not I'm a control freak, so I like to control everything. So if it's a lender that you don't know, a bank, a lender, whatever, you don't know them, call them and find out what's really going on. Don't just take the pre-qual letter and say, okay, we're You know what I mean? Because call them. You want to be friends with the lender because you need to get that approval that you have to get to the listing agent within 30 days. That's another thing. Don't wait until day 29 to ask, hey, is there an approval? I always tell people, put an alarm on your phone, a reminder in your calendar, whatever system it is that you use or platform, a reminder. I know you guys have Carlos though, but whatever. I keep forgetting about Carlos. But I always tell people, you know what I mean? Put a reminder because on day 25, because if you need to go back to the listing agent, you need to extend not only the closing date, but you have to extend the actual loan approval period. You know what I mean? And that's really important because if you don't give that loan approval within the 30 days, a lot of listing agents don't tell you anything. They're like, okay, we didn't get it. But on the contract it states if you don't give it, you automatically waive your rights. So if all of a sudden, day 35, you get a denial letter, that denial letter is garbage. Your buyer's losing their deposit. There is no end. I mean, it has to be something that you really have to prove for you to be able to save the deposit. So the loan approval is very important.
Loan commitment, not the same thing.
Well,
It's-
okay, I did mortgages for 17 years before. Loan commitment is garbage. That's why they took it out. That doesn't really exist. It's loan approval. That's really what counts. The loan commitment,
No.
plus if you notice, you'll get like a million conditions.
But they're still listing agent, like, look.
They call it loan commitment, I know.
Yeah.
They
Still require it, look, we need it before, make sure.
well, yeah, before the 30 days, but it's usually an approval.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Guys, within 30 days, your lender should know if the guy's approved or not. If not, get a new lender.
Yeah, that's true. But I have this experience with one lender that I thought I'm not gonna close, but they really did a good job.
Listen, there's some badass lenders out there. I mean, we're a very large company, so pretty much everyone at some point has come through our doors. And we pretty much have worked with pretty much every lender in Miami. So just yesterday alone, one of my realtors called me, hey, by any chance, do you know this guy? I was like, what number extension are you on? She's like, how'd you know? I go, every time I have found that guy, like 5 extensions. Like, trust me, we pretty much have worked with everybody. Just so you can have an idea, most title companies close like 30 transactions a month. We close about 400.
Wow. For the whole offices or for?
Oh, yeah, no, the whole offices. In total, maybe not counting Orlando, but Dade and Broward, we're like about 400, 350, 400 transactions a month. Versus other title companies like 30, a really good title company, 50.
And how about our settlement fee? How much you charge us for settlement?
Okay, our settlement fees, we have maxes. Meaning we can't charge more than that, but from there we can go down. So usually the buyer is $9.95, but I think we're doing special fees for Home 61, right?
Yeah. Comparable to what we
Right,
had before.
right. So we have, what are our fees here?
$7.95,
For buyer,
and seller, $6.95.
$6.95. Okay?
We both do $6.95.
Huh? Listen, when it comes, listen,
This is gonna negotiate you out.
when it comes to fees, we're very negotiable, okay? Like I tell people, they're not always gonna be home runs. Sometimes you're gonna have a single, sometimes you're gonna have a double. Sometimes you do get the home run, you know what I mean? We are flexible. Obviously, we do have to live and pay bills, but again, we're very flexible. I have lowered my closing fee to $2.95. There's some people that need it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I tell people, like again, they're not always home runs, sometimes they're singles. At the end of the day, the way I see it, you help people, and that comes back to you tenfold. So I believe that 100%, and it's been proven to me throughout the years, you do good, good comes back. So there's times that I've even waived it completely. Hey, we gotta close. You know, at the end of the day, we have to close. And it's sometimes the first time home buyer. I mean, there's a newsletter that I'm doing that's coming out soon. That I feel, I've been in this industry so many years, and I feel like the human aspect of it is gone. People have gotten very robotic, and all they think about is money. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm the first person that loves money, and I would love to have $1 million, and I'm going for it all the way, and you know what I mean? But again, there's a human aspect to it, and people forget. And I'm telling you because I've seen people get nasty. Like listing agents don't want to give keys, the person has a U-Haul truck, they getting kicked out of their house, they have 2 little kids, they have the wire confirmation, but the money hasn't hit the account, they don't want to give the keys. I'm like, seriously? Like, what are we gonna do with your money? It's not gonna go anywhere, we're not stealing it. Like, the poor people have to move, and people have lost that, and I've seen people get nasty. And then I get mad. You know, so, and I think people have to put themselves in other people's positions sometimes, which is why if we have to lower fees, because it's a first-time home buyer or whatever, and they're short, you know, and we do what we have to do at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Our job is to help people, and trust me, you help, it'll come back tenfold. I've seen it happen a million times. Okay, so then we do the second search to make sure that there's nothing in that gap right before closing. Then once we close, we actually issue a title insurance policy. Now the title insurance policy, they don't get it right away. Sometimes it takes 2 to 3 months for them to get it, but it doesn't mean they're not insured. They're just insured, we'll just wait to get the deed back, we issue the policy, and they get the policy. Just so you know, we hold documents. We're supposed to by law hold it for 7 years, but we're paperless, so we have every document known to man from the beginning of time. So if they ever call you, a past client, they need a title insurance policy, they don't have it, whatnot, whatever, you can always call us. Trust me, we have everything. We have copies of everything. So, and we're not going anywhere. So, and once we get everything clear, the lender will ask us for a title request. We do send them the title right away. Half the time it's not cleared when we get it to them, but then we give it to them written up that we're clearing. Oh, okay. Again? Okay. My favorite part.
Does your title search go back further than 40 years?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
The standard is 40 from what I understand, so.
I'm not sure. I would think we have 4 different underwriters, so I would have to check with each one of them if any of them go back more than that. But I'm not sure. That's a good question. We can hold that so we can ask.
It's 40.
It's 40?
Usually, yeah.
All of them?
Not even Fidelity. Let me ask.
If Natick and Fidelity do 40, probably the rest do 42. Because they're like the biggest ones. Okay. So this is just like a little diagram. You know, offer, acceptance, inspections, clear title, closing. My favorite part. Okay. This is the part where everybody goes crazy. And I literally have a training just for the closing process, because this is where everybody gets frantic and gets nervous, and again, setting expectations. Go down the other side. Okay. So, the lender, this is about the CFP, but I'm not even gonna talk, okay. So the lender, what they do is, they send out, okay, everybody knows the CFPB guidelines, they have to send out the CD, they gotta wait 3 days, 1, 2, 3, and then you close. So let's say they send it on Monday, then you gotta wait 1, 2, 3, you close Friday. They call it the 3-day rule, I call it the 5-day rule, because it's really 5 days, if you think about it from start to finish. Because let's say they send it out Monday, you gotta wait 1, 2, you gotta actually wait 3 whole days and then close. So they get the CD Monday, you gotta wait Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then you can close Friday. And there's no way around that. Oh, but can we close earlier? No, you can't.
The Saturday and Sunday are days, or they not.
No, unless the bank is open on Saturday, they count Saturday. And Sunday, no, and holidays, no. Holidays don't count.
So if it's released Friday, then Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday, then you can close Wednesday.
Correct. Okay? And there's no way around that, like, there's none. Like, I mean, we can, it's only in our office, right? Right. We can close. They can sign the day before, they're not supposed to. Like I always tell people, certain questions, call, don't put an email. We have no problem signing them the day before because they can't make it the next day. And if I have the package, I'll sign them the day before. Everything gets notarized with the day of closing, and everything gets dated with the day of closing, but it doesn't fund until the day of closing. Lenders are not supposed to know that, because we're not supposed to do that, because obviously you're supposed to notarize on the day, technicalities. Okay, so, again, you gotta set expectations to your clients, and I'm gonna tell you why, because they're gonna drive you crazy for those 5 days. Crazy, they're gonna call you every 5 minutes. And I know, because then you guys call me every 5 minutes. Hey, what's the final numbers? Hey, what's the final numbers? If you tell them how this works and what the process is, you're gonna avoid yourself 100 phone calls. And the problem is, we're human. The pressure, huh?
Please do. Like as an agent, that would
don't do it in the beginning because you're not gonna remember, selective memory. When you know that you're getting closer to your closing date, like maybe 2 weeks before, your lender already tell you you're getting closer, yeah, we're gonna close for the 26th or whatever, talk to your client. Hey, listen, client, customer, you're gonna get a preliminary closing disclosure from your lender. The lender sends a closing disclosure to the buyer and nobody knows. It's like a mystery. We know because the buyer calls a realtor and the realtor calls us. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're gonna get a closing disclosure from the lender. It's preliminary. Don't go by those fees. Those are not the final numbers. A lot of the times what lenders do is, they know they gotta close on Friday and they know the clock has to start, because remember the 3 days. So what they do is they send out the CD, sometimes they even send it out and they're not even clear to close yet, which is why we don't have figures. But they know they have to close on Friday and they don't wanna look like they couldn't close. So they send out the CD and sometimes they send it out a little inflated. So you might get the call, oh my God, that's not what the lender told me. It's $1,000 more, blah, blah, blah. That's why it's very important that you tell them, listen, you're gonna get a pre-CD from the lender before closing. Those are not the final numbers, don't go by that. It's usually gonna be a little lower. Because they always go higher because they're supposed to ask us for a pre-CD before they disclose, but if they're on the clock and in a hurry, they get the one that we got in the beginning, they add a few fees on top, and they disclose. Because the problem is, if it goes over, there's certain thresholds, if it goes over, then they have to redisclose. If they redisclose, the clock starts ticking again from the beginning. Okay, let's say that again. So, I disclose right now to you, and it's Wednesday. And the clock starts as of Wednesday. But then Friday, I'm a lender, I'm like, shit, I forgot to put this fee, or the interest rate changed, or there was a catastrophe, and the rate lock expired, and I had to relock it, now it's a little higher. I have to redisclose on Friday. So now the clock starts ticking as of Friday. You're gonna start all over again. Go back to, how's it? Go back to goal, like a Monopoly? Yes. Which is why they over-disclose, to have that cushion in case, because they don't want to have to re-disclose. Because then what happens if they re-disclose, the realtor's going to be like, oh, you suck. So that's why, but if you tell them, because you're going to get that frantic call, and then usually it'll tell the day of closing on the pre-CD. So just warn them, hey, listen, you're going to get a pre-CD from the lender, don't go by that. Just let me know when you get it, because this is the thing, they don't tell you, they don't tell me, they don't tell anyone. So just let them know, at least if they let you know, you can give us heads up and we know it's coming. So like what I do is I tell the realtor, ask them what the date on the CD is. Because then it'll tell me what day they're planning on closing. You know what I mean? Because since if they disclose with that date, that means that is the closing date. So if I now give you a pre-CD, I'm a lender, I give you a pre-CD with the date of the 26th, we're closing on the 26th. So I've had realtors, oh my God, what do you mean you don't have figures? But he said the 26th. I'm like, that's what they disclosed, right? Then that's when we're closing. Because if not, if that date changes, they have to redisclose. And then the clock starts ticking again. So what you need to do is tell them, listen, you're going to get a pre-CD from the lender, don't go by those numbers. The final numbers come from the title company, and you're not going to get those numbers until the day before closing or even the day of closing. And that's being realistic. Because again, I do a lot of closings a month, so I see this very often. We don't get closing, sometimes we'll get closing instructions the day of closing at 10 a.m. Or better, my favorite, on a Friday at 4. It happens so often, you have no idea. And then the realtors are calling, oh my God, I don't have figures. You don't have cash to close yet? I'm like, no, I don't even have instructions. And then the lender will be like, oh, the title company has everything. They're lying. We don't. Okay? So, but if you tell your client that, hey, listen, you're not going to get the final figures until either the day of closing or the day before, those 3 days that they're waiting, they're going to leave you alone. They're not going to be calling you every 5 minutes, hey, what time, blah, 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 you know what I mean? And then we will not schedule your closing, we won't give you a confirmed time until at least I have my CD approved. Because there's a method to the madness. If I give you a time, let's say your buyer wants to close in the morning. They want to close at 10 a.m. And I don't have an approved CD yet, and I give you a 10 a.m. time, and they took time off of work, because their employer didn't give them the day off and they only have 2 hours, and they get to my office at 10 a.m. and I don't have a package, and they gotta sit there and wait, how pissed off are you gonna be? I don't know about you, but my time is super valuable. Don't be leaving me no 3 hours in no lobby. I'll be mad. I got things to do, you know? So that's why we do it. I'm not gonna lie, my closers sometimes feel the pressure from the realtor and they'll set a time. And then when the person's sitting in the lobby, I'm like, this is why I told you to do that. Why'd you give in to the realtor? You know, we aim to please to a certain point. But sometimes we have to protect you guys from yourselves, okay? Because the worst thing is a pissed off client, 3 hours waiting. I had one time a lender sent the buyer and the realtor to closing, and they didn't even close that day. Because there was no package. They closed the following Monday, it was a Friday. And I'm like, why would you send people to my office? Like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? The realtor, imagine, fuming. The freaking clients were freaking out. You know what I mean? We can't freak them out. Closing time is happy time. Hey, pictures, cakes, you know, the whole works. So you got to keep that in mind. So, well, let me know tentatively. Look, he prefers to close at 3 in Miami Lakes, no problem. We'll check availability. You know, we schedule a time. If I already have closing instructions, then we're moving along. The scary part is when it's the day of closing and I don't have closing instructions yet, that is like, But trust me, I'll get the closing instructions. They'll send them to me. I've literally had closing instructions come in at 7 and 9. Did anything get done that day? No, of course not. But they do come in. So just prepare your client so they don't give you that craziness. And not only that, the stress, the pressure. We're human. We all crack under pressure at some point. You know what I mean? And again, putting yourself in the customer's shoes. This is probably their first purchase or their purchase every 5 to 7 years, whatever, and they don't know and they're nervous. They're not buying a pair of shoes at Nordstrom that they can return with a receipt. You know, there's a freaking big purchase here, guys. So you gotta kind of like hold their hand sometimes, especially the newer buyers, and let them know, hey, you're gonna get it, just give it time. Was it yesterday? No, Monday I had a closing at 4 o'clock, and it was 2:30, and I still didn't have an approved CD. I did get the approved CD, and we were able to close on time, and they did close at 4 o'clock, and everything was fine. But just to give you an example of how things work, and if it's end of the month, hold on tight, guys, because if it's end of the month gets crazy. I don't know why everything always closes at the end of the month, and it gets like, I mean, lenders are backed up, so we don't get closing instructions till God knows when. And the good thing about our office is that we stay and we try to get everything done, and the girls stay, and we have a kick-ass team. But that does happen. Also, another thing you need to tell.
Until what time you're open?
Technically, we're open till 5. Our office hours are 9 to 5. Does everybody usually leave on 5? Hardly ever. End of the month, I got people at end of the month in the office till 12. Really loves to pay that overtime. He's like, overtime? I'm like, well, we have to close at the end of the month. You know? Like, because the thing is, my funder, they like to stay in and try to fund as much stuff as possible. It depends what kind of end of the month that we had. But yeah, the girls have stayed sometimes till 9, 10 o'clock at night, trying to get things done. So yeah, they do. I love them, they're awesome. Okay, so another thing you need to tell your clients is, just because trust me, they don't know this. They think that they sign all the paperwork and that's it, they're done. Yeah, give me my keys. I'm moving, U-Haul truck is outside. Literally, I've had U-Haul trucks.
I've had that.
I've had that happen a million times. Like literally, but my U-Haul truck is downstairs. I'm like, ooh, that's a problem. Especially if you're closing at 4 o'clock on a Friday, end of the month. Yeah, so make sure you let them know. Don't schedule any movers. I always try to tell people, try to close like on a Thursday. I know it's kind of out of your power because you're kind of depending on the lender sometimes. But if you can, try to get it on a Thursday. It would be better because in that way, everybody wants to move on the weekends. And I get it. You know what I mean? But you need to let them know, listen, just because you're signing, that doesn't mean it's over. It's not over yet.
But you do the wire closing so that it's immediate, right?
Yes, it's immediate. But again, this is what happens. The buyer signs, right? And then we have to send a bunch of documents to the lender. And they gotta review it, and then they gotta give me funding authorization. There are some lenders that do like a fast funding now, that they don't need authorization or whatever, but we do have to wait for authorization. And what I explain to people is, it's a process. Funding doesn't happen in 5 minutes. Because they have their stuff, we're dealing with money here. So there's stuff people have to check, signatures, basically she's dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure we're not missing anything. Wiring instructions, we have to call and check. Literally, even for payoffs, anything, there's a lot of wire fraud out there. So we do have to call and make sure that the wire information that we got is legit. You don't know how many times already they've tried to, the other day, last week, we had a payoff come in by fax, super legit. My funder called, thank God she called because it was a fake payoff. It was a fake account number. The listings agent email got hacked and they faxed us a payoff. Yeah, it was a mess. Luckily, we caught it. If not, we would have been out $300,000. But don't worry, we have insurance for that. So make sure you tell them, and then if the seller is closing, if the seller has an attorney or seller representation and they're closing somewhere else, if I don't have the original warranty deed, I can't fund. Because if that gets lost in the whole midst of them bringing it to me, then I'm done. Like I had one time a listing agent, I don't know what that attorney was thinking. They gave the closing documents to the realtor on a Friday. The realtor didn't bring me the stuff until Tuesday. I'm like, hello, where's my stuff? Oh yeah, I'm gonna go by there now. Bullshit, you didn't get there till Tuesday. So I couldn't even fund till Tuesday. We're like, my closer's like, hey, where's the deed? I'm like, I don't know. So you know what I mean? So these are things you need to prepare your client for. So hey, we're gonna close on a Friday, 3 o'clock. That's another thing. Supposedly wire cutoff time is supposed to be 3 o'clock, between 3 and 4. So we keep sending wires after that time, but the problem is we can't guarantee the seller's gonna receive it at that time. And what happens? Some listing agents don't release keys until the seller has their money in their account. No ticket, no laundry. So these are things you have to prepare your client for because they will show up with the U-Haul truck or the mover scheduled at their house, thinking that they're moving, and then they won't get keys until Monday. And then whose fault is that?
Realtor's fault.
Of course, it's a realtor's fault. You know, it's your fault. You know, but if you tell them with time, nobody likes surprises. You know what I mean? If you tell them that time, they're mentally prepared. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, what do you mean I can't move today? What do you mean I'm not getting keys? They're mentally prepared. And believe it or not, that's gonna save you so many issues, and that's gonna guarantee that they're gonna refer you other clients, because you're gonna be the best damn realtor that they've ever dealt with in their lives. Because you're telling them what's gonna happen. So they're not like freaked out, you know what I mean? And, you know, because I even have realtors freak out. You know what I mean? And I tell them, when there's a problem, they like to go and they tell the client the problem. I mean, don't do that. Don't do that. Now, unless you have a solution, don't go with them with a problem. Because you're gonna get them nervous, and then what if we solve the problem? Now they're calling you for 2-3 days, driving you crazy, and the problem was solvable. So don't do that either. Don't go to clients with problems. Come to us with the problems. We'll help you solve them, or we'll give you options, and then we go to the client, hey, look, this is what's happening. These are your options. You can do A, B, or C, and what do you want? And the decision, remember, it's not your decision. It's their decision. You know, hey, this is what's going on. Do you want to close? Do you not want to close? Because if you decide for them and something goes wrong, whose fault is it? The realtor's fault. So make sure that when you explain to them the funding process. The funding can take, I already did all that, right? Keep going, I already did that. The funding can take up to an hour to do, 45 minutes, because they have to check everything and then everything gets wired. So what happens is, once it gets funded, everybody will get an email. Congratulations, your loan has funded, and you get a copy of the ALTA, which you have to give to your broker, which in this case, we send it directly to Carlos, so you don't have to worry about that. And then that's when you get paid your commissions. Once you get that email, that means everything has gone out. Seller, wire, everything. So that means call the listing agent, we'll get your keys. Now you're closed. Now it's official, once it's funded. Okay? So, rule of thumb, if you tell your client anything, set the expectation for closing. Because that's when everybody goes crazy, that's when they get all the calls. You know, oh my God, I don't have figures, I'm like, I don't have instructions. That is so important, that part. If you take anything away from this training, it's that. Closing, funding. Let your client know what goes on. Now that you know, let them know. And if I have to call it myself and explain it, I will. I did it on the way over here to a buyer, because my realtor is out of town. Because I already know he's coming from New York, and I already know, and I'm like, he doesn't know, the realtor doesn't know, so I called him, already preparing him. Listen, this is what's gonna happen, he's fine. Now he's fine, he's like, oh, okay. Now, guess what, I'm not gonna hear from him until I get instructions. Everything's fine, everything's perfect. You know, what goes on behind the curtain is nobody's business but ours. Okay, and nobody has any questions on that part? Once a file closes, just so you know, once a file closes and it funds, we do the title policies, like I said, 2 months later, they'll get a title policy, so forth and so on. One thing that we do for closing is we have the red carpet closings. So what we do is, for the buyers, not the sellers, we do have a cake that we take to closing, and it has a picture of the house on the cake. And that's their photo opportunity, so they could take pictures of the realtors and put on their social media and do marketing. And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't a fan of the cake in the beginning. I was like, oh, that's so stupid. But let me tell you, it's a hit. I've had freaking buyers cry at the closing table, and I've had realtors get referrals and listings because of the cake. Which is another thing why we need to know ahead of time where you're gonna close, because you don't know how many times we'll have a cake in Miramar and the closing's in Doral. And then they have to deliver the cake to the person's house. It's not as, it doesn't work as nice. It's nice when they get to the closing and they see the cake and they're like, oh my God, It works good at closing. Yeah, we can deliver it to their house, but it doesn't get the same effect. You know what I mean? We want them to take pictures with the realtors. We want them to post it on their social media. You know what I mean? If they ever forget who the realtor was, they can always go back on the gram and check who my realtor was. Who's your realtor? She's awesome. Hold on, that's her. See the logic? So we love that red carpet closing. That's our thing. We don't let you eat the cake at the closing because we have to do more closings. In the beginning, people were cutting the cake at the closing. We're like, okay, we gotta go. We have to close, so we don't do that. But they do get to take the cake home, and so forth and so on. Anybody have any questions?
Are you gonna touch base on the direct deposits directly to the agents?
Yes.
For the sugar board?
Okay. Yeah. Now we're gonna go into this logistics.
Okay.
Of how we're gonna work things. Okay, so we do disbursement authorizations, meaning you get paid at closing. So we can, once you close, we're gonna go ahead and send you directly your commission and send home 61, whatever their part is. But we do need disbursement authorization forms from Carlos. And we ask you to please ask for it ahead of time, at least 48 hours prior, right?
Yes, everything 48 hours prior.
48 hours prior. And I'm gonna tell you why. And this happened to me before, of course. I've had people literally give me a disbursement authorization and I refunded the file. Once the wire is gone, it's gone. I can't bring it back. You know what I mean? So I told realtors, if you know you're gonna close on Friday, ask for the disbursement authorization ahead of time. And we will wire you your commission directly to your bank account. What I do is I have my realtors, there's a wire form that I have them fill out and I have them save it on the phone. And then whenever they have a closing, they send it to the closer. It's pre-filled out, it's automatic, you send it to the closer every time you have a closer, every time you have a closing, and she'll go ahead and do it. They are gonna call you to verify the wiring information just in case it gets hacked or whatever. But you will get it directly to your bank account, and we don't charge for that, the wire. Should we talk about rentals?
Yes.
That was my next question.
More than that.
Okay, rentals. For those of you who do rentals, and I'm sure most of you do, we're gonna be holding your escrow deposit. Okay, are you assigning them the office finally, or?
Yeah. So the process, she's gonna tell you the process of which they're gonna work with,
And then you're gonna tell me your part.
and then, we haven't set up the process, we have to set up the back office for it. But for right now, she's gonna tell you how it's gonna work on their end.
Are you gonna assign them an office
So
finally? What are you
in
gonna do?
the case that the best and easiest way is that each agent is gonna be assigned the office of their choosing, okay? Understood? Yes. There's I think 10 offices where they get to choose, okay?
Okay, so basically where you drop off your rental deposit, that's where you're gonna get the disbursement. So if you drop off an escrow deposit in Doral, you can't go pick up your check at Miramar. You gotta pick it up in Doral. That's why it's important that wherever you leave your check, that's where you go pick up the thing. Then there's a disbursement authorization form that has to be filled out. We ask for that you give it to us 48 hours prior to disbursement, and I'm gonna tell you why. because the person that's gonna cut the checks is the money girl, right? But the money girl has to fund closings. So the money girl can just stop a funding of a purchase to do a rental. So if you give us 48 hours prior, doesn't mean you're gonna have it ready in 2 days. Sometimes if she has time, she'll do it the same day. You know what I mean? If, of course, there's exceptions to every rule. We do charge a rush fee, but obviously it can be waived depending on the exception, but we ask you not to do that, especially if it's end of the month, because it can get sticky. So where you leave the deposit, the rental escrow deposit, that's when you gotta pick up the disbursement check. Okay.
Why are they closing?
No.
Um,
Oh, they want to wire us a deposit? They can, yeah, they can. But we don't usually wire rental, disbursements.
But we can pick up the check with you.
No, you're gonna pick up the check at the office.
So, yeah, so we're not doing courier anymore. When we work and switch to them for escrow, there's no more couriers coming to our office. So it's the agent's responsibility to go to the title office and pick up the walkthrough checks. I will be facilitating the disbursement process.
So,
And sending out the disbursement letter. So instead of coming to the office to pick up your walkthrough check, you go to the office that you're assigned to, of your choosing, of the title company.
okay,
Right, for instance, like what area are you usually in? Like what's your area?
no, let's say I'm in Kendall,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay? I'm in Kendall, so my client is in Brickell,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna choose the Brickell office. I'm gonna ask the client to wire the deposit for this transaction
they're gonna wire
in
it.
Kendall. They can wire it, right?
Yeah, they can wire
And
it.
I could pick up in Kendall. So
Yes.
I could use the Kendall
Yes.
office in every transaction that I make.
Yes.
Because Kendall is much closer to me.
Correct. You got it.
Oh, so
And I have two in Kendall. I have one on 164th and Kendall Drive, and I have one on
Yeah,
94th
so
and
you're
Sunset.
not coming all the way over here
The
to
good thing about,
part time, so you can go to the title.
the good thing about the wire is something.
Yeah, the wire's easy. I wish everybody would just wire everything. It's-
Yeah, please.
So
Try to
go
enforce
over
that with-
here, just pick up in Kendall and
Right.
that's it.
And that's it.
Um,
And I tell people, listen, the disbursement form has to be signed by both tenant and landlord, giving us permission to disperse whatever, because rental, whatever, they say you get $1,200, maybe 400 goes to ABC Realty, 400 goes to Home 61, and whatever maybe to the landlord, I don't know how the rentals work. But it gives us, the disbursement forms gives us the breakdown on how to cut the check and to whom. But we need the landlord and the tenant to sign it because they have to be in agreement. We don't know what the split is or what the landlord is supposed to be paying you. You know, we don't know any of that.
5%.
Yeah, we
Let's
don't
get
know.
started.
We're title, we're not realtors.
Yeah, so I'll be doing that, but
Yeah, you'll
as
be-
of right now, which I think you should talk to the board, I guess, because they're the ones that will finalize, but at the same time, we're just having the listing agents or the broker from the listing side sign, not the landlord.
I mean, that's fine, as long as it's signed, I'm gonna
We
see.
never had, yeah, because we never had a problem where the landlord was like, hey, this was incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we just work just to cover our tracks, because we're just holding the money.
Yeah.
We don't know how rentals work, we're not realtors, like, that's one thing, I have no idea, rentals, because we just work purchases, closings, you know what I mean? We have the escrow account, so we're able to hold escrow, and we just need to make sure it gets dispersed, because what we don't want is later on, oh, why'd you give them $600 and it was only supposed to be 400, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So it's just a way of covering our tracks, you know?
It'll be the broker's responsibility,
Yeah,
so it's just gonna be the.
okay, that'll work too,
Do you have
the
a
broker
form?
owns the commission anyway.
Do you have a
Yes, for us.
form?
No,
Yes.
I still use ours. The
Carlos is
disbursement
good.
form will be, it's always been ours,
Yeah.
so again, this is gonna be the same disbursement form that we use.
Okay. Will we still be able to go, is it gonna change in the way that we have to wait till closing to get our commission now, or how's that gonna work?
Same, as soon as we get a escrow letter.
As soon as the escrow goes through, we can
That
get,
goes through and then we disperse it. So disbursement, when we do the disbursement, and then for the Home 61, you guys can do it.
you can get, so like this, it's the same thing except timing wise, it's the same stuff, we pick it up at the office, right?
At their office.
Right.
Yeah, one of our offices, yeah, like for instance, I've had sometimes,
Yeah, I'm just curious, cause like,
It's actually gonna be faster.
okay.
like I have realtors sometimes that they send in the lease, they send in the disbursement form, we cut the checks and they actually pick it up and then take it to like the walkthrough. You know what I mean? So as long as I have it 48 hours prior, the checks will be ready. They'll be there. So if you wanna pick them up that day or in a week or whatever, you can be more than happy to pick them up whenever you want.
Okay.
rentals?
We're gonna do it in the back office. But again, this is, right now, this is just preempting when we have the transfer from Santa Fe to New World in the back office for the rental escrow. Because that takes a minute to do. There's a lot of forms, there's a lot of,
Like, I'll spend like months or?
I had Cyril, and he gave me at least a month.
So
Oh.
when
So
is
it might
gonna
be more,
start?
right now
Like,
it's.
when?
Now, whenever. Whenever you guys are ready.
Yeah, sales, by the way, so that you guys know, now, New World is now the defaulted title company on all of its
Back office.
contracts. In the back office, all of its contracts is New World, okay? So you're aware, when you do the contract, it's gonna come out New World, not Santa Fe anymore for sales, alright?
What we're gonna do in the beginning also is because, again, remember that your files are gonna get processed in, we're assigning Miramar to your office for processing. But again, you don't have to close there. You can close at any other office that we have.
Which one is the closest to these?
The closest to this one, I think, would be the Grove, right? The Grove. Or Doral? No, not
You
really.
guys have a South Miami office?
No, the Grove. I just came from the Grove. It was super easy. Expressway, I was here in 10 minutes.
Kendall, you have two.
Kendall have two, 164th and Kendall Drive, and the other one's on 94th and Sunset, closer to
Oh,
Dayland.
that's
That's closer to Dayland. Oh yeah, that's actually closer to South Miami.
Yeah,
Well, it's kind of like, well, the Grove and they're kind of in the middle. So basically the offices we have, let me see if I can remember them all. Okay. Doral, Miramar, Grove, Miami Lakes, Kendall, we have two, Davies, Sunny Isles, Wellington, Orlando, we got two. I already said Sunny Isles. Hold on. I feel like I'm missing.
Don't you have the third one, Kendall? The town and country one?
Yeah, but that's old. That's what you have to do. Yeah, no, Sunny Isles we have, but there's someone there that Weston, I don't know if Weston's on there. Weston, we don't have anymore. We merged Weston with Miramar. Well, Boca's like Wellington. Boca we don't have anymore. We used to have Boca and Palm Beach. Now we don't have Wellington. Coral Gables, we moved it to the Grove. We had so many. At one point, I think we had like 17 offices, but it was crazy. Like it was like Miramar and Weston were right there. And then, believe it or not, a lot of people close outside the office, so that we have mobile closers. You know what I mean? So we started like cost effectively, so we merged Weston and Miramar, but the Grove and Coral Gables, we merged it to the Grove, cause it wasn't like cost effective, you know? So I'm gonna try, what I'm gonna try now is I'm gonna see if I can get like some WeWork, cause it'd be cool to close in a WeWork. So cause that way we will have like one, they're like everywhere now, you know what I mean? So we might start doing that just for closings. You know, but again, mobile closers all day long. If I have to close, okay, our motto basically is just get it done. Like whatever it is, just get it done. Like, so if we have to close at 7 o'clock at night, we'll close at 7 o'clock at night. I literally did a closing one time in a bus bench in Coral Gables during happy hour. The clients were really happy though, because they were at happy hour. Literally. But again, like, you know, we've done closings on Saturdays, you know what I mean? Yeah, I had to do one actually the other day. We are opening a new office. We're in the mix and the process of opening an office in Homestead. Because Homestead seems to be like booming. So that's already in the works. We already signed the lease. We're just fixing it, whatever. So we will have an office in Homestead soon.
And you guys, I need you to ask you a question. And you guys, of course, since it's mobile, you guys can close at our office also.
Of course. Yes, of course. But yeah, we're in the midst of opening an office in Homestead now, so that's gonna be our newest office. And I lost my train of thought. What was I going with that? I said that for a reason. I don't remember now. I was gonna say something about that, now I don't remember. Well, you're opening an office in Homestead. So you'll have Homestead soon,
Okay.
you know? Homestead is
Boy,
booming.
we're here.
So Homestead is coming soon. What else? Can we tell them? The app, I told you about the app at the beginning. There's an app for that. do have the app. We have apps too, our apps is a little different, we're setting up Carlos with an app, eventually. So he'll be able to get all your transactions through the app as well. So when he goes on vacation, he'll be updated.
Also, if you guys need a free CD, I'm able to help you with that.
Oh yeah, pre-CDs. Pre-CDs, if you guys need a pre-CD, estimates, whatever, let us know, Manfi can get that to you right away. Sometimes, you know, they don't know closing costs, can I afford this house, do I put an offer, this and this and that. That's when we can come in. You can call her, even if it's on a Saturday. Realtors work weekends, so do we.
And then we can give you the address and you can give him a shop. Most probably this is the closing cost of this specific
Correct.
buyer,
So at least they have an idea. But here's the thing, we can give you our costs, not the lender's costs.
Yeah, yeah.
But at least you have some kind of an idea, and if you want to send that to the lender, you can, they can get them a low estimate. Yeah, but it gives you like an idea. If you guys have questions on the weekends, you guys work weekends, you can call us too. We always answer our phones, weekends, nights. That's what we're here for. I have so many realtors always tell me, oh, but I didn't want to bother you. That's my job. You're supposed to bother me. You know what I mean? Like if you have something, a lot of realtors work weekends and nights. Your buyers have questions, call us. If we need to explain something to your buyer, call us. Do a three-way. We'll talk to your buyer, tell them the process, how it works. You know, we gotta make them feel comfortable. Bless you. You know, you need to make your client feel comfortable, because again, what is our goal? Happy closing. And referrals, of course, referrals. Anything else? Any other questions?
Any other questions?